Hello and welcome to another episode of World at War. I'm your host, Jyotsna Kumar. On the 11th of August, 6 people, including 3 Pakistani nationals and an Indonesian national, were killed and 10 others were injured in a double-tap strike on a cargo vessel by Yemen's Iran-backed Houthis in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. It was the first deadly attack by the Houthis since the US and Israel began striking Iran on the 28th of February. The Houthis, who launched their attacks on shipping last month, said they hit a ship carrying Saudi military equipment. The world of renewed Houthi attacks on shipping in the Red Sea draw Yemen into the wider ongoing regional confrontation between the US and Iran. Our next report explores more.
The Houthis, officially known as Ansar Allah, are a military, political and religious movement who control northwestern Yemen and are backed by Iran. They have emerged as a key front in the US-Israel war on Iran by targeting shipping in the Red Sea. But the escalation has given rise to the prospect of a return to large-scale conflict in Yemen. On the 20th of July, the Houthis declare a maritime embargo against Saudi Arabia in the Red Sea, in response to what they described as a Saudi siege. On the 11th of August, 6 people, including 3 Pakistani nationals and an Indonesian national, were killed and 10 others were injured in strikes by Houthis on an Egyptian-owned cargo ship, the Hama, in the Red Sea, the internationally recognized government of Yemen said. Reportedly, the vessel was hit with 3 ballistic missiles south of the port of Mocha, causing a fire on board and resulting in the deaths of 4 crew members. Yemen's Coast Guard later said a second deadly missile strike targeted rescuers who tried to evacuate the ship. Both Pakistan and Indonesia strongly condemned the Houthi attack on a non-combatant commercial vessel.
We learned with deep concern about this unfortunate incident involving an attack on commercial vessels. This was a commercial vessel in the Red Sea. According to the information available as of now, 3 Pakistani nationals have lost their lives and 1 has sustained injuries. Pakistan strongly condemns this attack on a non-combatant commercial vessel. Such attacks endanger innocent lives, constitute a violation of international law and a serious threat to freedom of navigation, maritime security and the safety of commercial shipping in the Red Sea.
He strongly condemned this attack and emphasized the urgent need to prevent further escalation. We remain committed to continuing to work with Yemen to maintain peace and stability in the region. That is our specific response to the attack in Yemen. But this morning, we received confirmation.
Dan stabilitas di kawasan. Itu tanggapan khusus terkait serangan yang.
Noteworthy is the fact that Pakistan holds a defense pact with Saudi Arabia, which has expanded recently to include Turkey, and is mediating between Iran and the United States in search of a resolution to hostilities. A couple of days later, Yemen's internationally recognized government said that the Houthis fired 6 ballistic missiles at the Red Sea port of Mocha on Friday, killing at least 4 civilians. Reportedly, the attack targeted civilian infrastructure and national assets at the port. Houthis, on the other hand, claimed to attack what they described as build-ups, weapons and warships belonging to Saudi-backed forces and mercenaries in Mocha with a large number of ballistic missiles, destroying boats and weapons. A day earlier, the United Nations had warned that Yemen, after 4 years of relative calm, faces a serious risk of return to large-scale conflicts following a sharp escalation in hostilities between the internationally recognized government backed by Saudi Arabia and the Houthi rebel group backed by Iran.
Yemen today faces a more serious risk of return to large-scale conflict than at any point since the 2022 UN-mediated truce. There has been an intensification of military activity along front lines with recent attacks by Ansar Allah in Marib, Hadramaut, Mocha and beyond, causing casualties among both military personnel and civilians. With regional trade and energy flows already under intense pressure from the crisis in the Strait of Hormuz, Ansar Allah's renewed attacks on commercial vessels in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden, which the Council condemned in its recent statement, risk deepening Yemen's entanglement with a wider regional confrontation.
Yemen has been devastated by a civil war that began in 2014, when the Houthis ousted the government from the capital city of Sana'a. Since then, according to the United Nations, the fighting has reportedly left more than 150,000 people dead and triggered one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with more than 22 million people in need of some form of aid. The recent escalation in hostilities is once again threatening regional security, something which Yemen and the wider region cannot afford.
On the intervening night of August 11th and 12th, Pakistan conducted airstrikes in the restive province of Balochistan. The airstrikes were an apparent retaliation to an escalation in insurgent attacks across the embattled province and came soon after the Baloch Liberation Army, or the BLA, claimed that it had killed at least 32 Pakistani soldiers in attacks this month. It is to be noted that the restive Balochistan province has been the scene of a long-running insurgency in southwestern Pakistan, with an array of separatist groups demanding independence from Pakistan's central government in Islamabad. Our next report explores.
The southwestern Balochistan province is Pakistan's largest by territory, but the smallest in terms of population. Despite being blessed with mineral resources and vast reserves of natural gas, the province has remained the country's poorest, giving rise to a broader rebellion. The decades-old rebel movement blames the Pakistani government of neglecting its residents and unfair distribution of resources. Most prominent of these rebel groups in the province is the Baloch Liberation Army. On the 11th of August, the rebel outfit claimed that between 1st and 8th of August, they had carried out 38 operations across Balochistan, in which more than 32 Pakistani military personnel and other alleged operatives were killed and dozens more were wounded. Later that evening, in an apparent retaliation, Pakistan conducted airstrikes in Balochistan, allegedly hitting populated areas. Reportedly, the Pakistani strikes in Surab and Gwadar killed at least 21 civilians, including women and children. The next day, however, Pakistani authorities said security forces had killed 10 insurgents in clashes in Balochistan. They further said that a botched car bomb detonated prematurely, killing at least 11 people, 8 terrorists rigging the explosives and 3 people in a nearby home. As Pakistan conducted airstrikes in the embattled province, the Baloch Liberation Army mounted overnight attacks, targeting police and military personnel in at least 6 locations. The insurgents attacked and destroyed a police station in a midnight bombing in Chagai district, killing 3 security personnel. Attacked the Pakistani military camp in Chau, targeted a security forces envoy on the Khusdar RCD highway, ambushed military vehicles in the nearby town of Vad, attacked the security checkpoint in the Mangujar Bazar area, and ambushed commercial vehicles and hijacked a truck in Yakmak. Last month also, the rebel outfit had launched 48 coordinated operations between July 1st and July 14th. Targeting military convoys, checkpoints, bridges and supply routes across Balochistan, in which more than 40 Pakistani security personnel were killed and several others were injured. On the 14th of August, Pakistan's Independence Day, Balochistan Home Minister Mir Ziaullah Langao's convoy came under attack in Maston, in which 2 security personnel were killed and 4 anti-terrorism force personnel were wounded. Noteworthy is the fact that the Baloch nationalists consider Pakistani rule illegitimate, as they say that the region's accession to Pakistan was made under duress. Pakistan has witnessed an escalation in violence, especially in the border provinces of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa and Balochistan, in the wake of Afghan Taliban seizing power in Kabul in August 2021. Islamabad, troubled by a rise in attacks on its security forces, has repeatedly accused the Afghan government of providing a haven to anti-Pakistan militant groups, a claim refuted by Kabul. In recent months, Pakistan has launched airstrikes on Afghan territory that it claims targets militants, but that Afghan government officials and the United Nations say have killed dozens of civilians. The Pakistani security forces have found the going tough in battling the deadly decades-long insurgency by Baloch separatists. With the insurgency entering a critical phase, Balochistan remains one of the biggest pressure points for Islamabad.
The Russia-Ukraine war, which is well into its 5th year, is not showing any signs of coming to an end anytime soon. The two warring countries have instead ramped up long-range strikes, causing a growing number of civilian casualties. According to the UN Human Rights Monitors, since Russia's February 2022 invasion, the war has killed at least 16,874 civilians, including 820 children, and wounded 51,273, including 3,126 children. As both countries escalate attacks on each other's shipping facilities and ports, grain exports from both the countries, which together accounts for a significant share of global grain trade, has been severely hit, affecting global food supplies. Our next report gets you the details.
The Russia-Ukraine war, which is Europe's biggest conflict since World War II, has resulted in the death of tens of thousands of civilians and the displacement of millions from their homes. As US-led talks on bringing an end to the Russia-Ukraine war remain effectively frozen, both Moscow and Kyiv have escalated attacks on each other in recent weeks. Ukraine has repeatedly targeted Russian refineries, ports and energy infrastructure in a bid to raise the economic cost of Moscow's war effort. Russia too has considerably stepped up strikes with ballistic missiles, a fast and powerful weapon that is hard to intercept. Only the most advanced air defense, such as the US-made Patriot system, is capable of intercepting them. Ukraine has been reporting an acute shortage of Patriot interceptors since the US-Israeli war against Iran began in February. On Tuesday, following overnight Russian attacks across Ukraine that killed at least 10 people and wounded dozens, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Moscow of launching North Korean missiles in the raid.
Було нове застосування Росією ракет з Північної Кореї в ударі.
Russia has once again used missiles from North Korea in an attack against Ukraine on the night leading into today. Ballistic missiles were fired at Kyiv and Zaporizhia from several Russian regions. Unfortunately, there have been fatalities. My condolences go out to all the bereaved. Dozens of people were wounded in the strikes. The situation in Zaporizhia was particularly severe. Also, over the past 24 hours, strikes by various types of drones have continued against frontline towns and villages from the Sumy region to the Kherson region.
Прифронтовим містам і селам від Сумщини до Херсонщини.
It is to be noted that Russia has turned North Korea, with which it signed a mutual defense pact in 2024, for support throughout its 4.5-year invasion. Earlier in the war, Pyongyang dispatched thousands of troops to help Russia fight back a Ukrainian counterattack into its western Kursk region. According to the United Nations, the latest spiral of escalation has brought the civilian death toll in Ukraine to the highest since the war's first months in 2022. Kyiv has also boosted its own long-range drone strikes against Russia, hitting oil infrastructure and e-commerce warehouses. In counterattacks, it says, are justified and designed to cripple Moscow's logistics and revenue sources. The first wave of fuel shortages emerged in late June and early July, though the situation had largely stabilized in Moscow by mid-July. But fuel crisis seems to have returned to the Russian capital amid sustained Ukrainian drone attacks on energy infrastructure. On Friday, motorists were seen queuing at the gas stations in Moscow, reporting fuel shortages, particularly of AI 95 petrol.
We're struggling quite a lot because these queues take up so much time. It also affects our work. We're basically losing working hours just waiting to refuel. I've already been standing here for about 30 minutes, and as you can see, there are still 5 cars ahead of me. That will probably take another 20 minutes. I end up being away from work for about an hour just to fill up a company vehicle. So, this problem hasn't gone away. As for how to deal with it, I honestly can't say.
Well, it's tough, especially if you work in delivery services because fuel gets used up pretty quickly. I drive for a couple of days, my tank holds 45 liters, and that's enough for about 2 days, and then I have to stand in a queue like this all over again. There are certain difficulties, but I think we'll manage one way or another.
While some petrol stations have closed, others are selling only diesel. Subsequent to the sustained Ukrainian attacks, fuel supply problems have once again intensified in several Russian regions, including the Tula, Tambo, and Kaluga regions, as well as the Primorsky and Krasnodar territories. The recent escalation in attacks both by Kyiv and Moscow has underlined that there is no end in sight to Europe's biggest conflict since World War II anytime soon.
On the 10th of August, 10 Nigerian police officers were killed and 2 others were wounded in a clash with a gang of suspected bandits in the northwestern Kyiv state. 2 civilians were also killed in the confrontation, in which, according to the Nigerian police, at least 17 bandits were killed, and a hunt is on to nab the fleeing suspects. It is to be noted that in northwestern and central Nigeria, violence by armed gangs and other criminal groups has become a major security challenge, with communities frequently targeted in deadly raids. Our next report explores more.
In northwest and central Nigeria, armed gangs, locally infamous as bandits, have for years preyed on rural communities. Raiding villages, kidnapping residents for ransom, and burning homes after looting them is their modus operandi. On Monday, a heavily armed group of around 240 bandits on more than 200 motorcycles was traveling from Zamfara state to Kebbi state when they were intercepted by the police. The clashes that ensued, at least 10 police officers were killed and 2 others sustained injuries. The next day, the police spokesperson claimed that at least 17 of the attackers were killed by the gallant police personnel. Reinforcements were deployed to the area under control of the police soon after, and the hunt is on for the fleeing suspects. Our correspondent Louisa Olani sent us this ground report in the aftermath of the deadly engagement.
Yet another episode of relentless violence gripping Nigeria's restive north, as police say a fierce gunfight near the Kebbi-Zamfara border claimed 10 of their own officers, 2 civilians, and at least 17 suspected bandits. Authorities say that the heavily armed group, reportedly moving on dozens of motorcycles, was intercepted in Sakaba. The Kebbi State Governor, Nasri Idris, formally confirmed the death and immediately postponed a planned political stakeholders meeting. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police has paid tribute to the fallen, calling their sacrifice a painful loss, while reinforcements now hunt the remaining attackers.
Last month, on the 22nd of July, at least 20 people were killed in northwestern Zamfara state by armed gang members who attacked several villages, highlighting once again the insecurity in that region. But it is not all doom and gloom for the Nigerian security forces. Earlier this month, in a major achievement, security forces rescued 308 people abducted in separate attacks in northern Niger and Kwara states. 163 of those rescued had been abducted from Woro community in Kwara's Kayama district, and another 145 from the neighboring Niger state.
We thank Almighty God. We have no words to express our gratitude to the people who supported us. Since the incident occurred, we have not been able to sleep or eat properly. Our thoughts have been consumed with worry, especially for the children who were taken to the forest and did not know what was happening. Today, in the name of God, they were brought home safely. We are grateful to God, and we also thank our elders who stood by us in the effort to rescue them.
To bring our people back home, I'm extending my gratitude to the federal government, the state government, and the local government of Borg. We are jubilating since their release yesterday. They, rescued loved ones, are reuniting with us, which is a blessing.
The victims in Kwara had been in captivity since February after gunmen attacked their community and killed at least 170 others in one of the most deadly attacks by gunmen in this year. All the victims were freed from the Kainji Lake National Park forest in Niger State following an operation involving the armed forces, intelligence agencies and police. Under fire, Nigerian President Bola Tinubu lauded the largest same-day rescue operation carried out by a joint security team. Noteworthy is the fact that on the 4th of August, Tinubu had approved pay rises of up to 80% for members of the armed forces as part of efforts to boost the morale and welfare of troops at the forefront of fighting insecurity. The Federal Republic of Nigeria is plagued with insecurity on multiple fronts, including a 17-year-long Islamist insurgency in its northeast, separatist violence in the southeast, and frequent deadly clashes between farmers and herders in the central region. The challenge of this multiple-front war is daunting, especially for a frustrated and demotivated Nigerian security force. But these recent measures and successes will definitely boost the morale of the Nigerian security forces.
And that's all we could pack into this episode of World at War. Thanks for watching.